The station-wide alert didn't scream. It shrieked. Vexith's secondary sensory organs flared as every security protocol on diplomatic station Havre-9 triggered simultaneously. 3 biosignatures, Krell, juvenile, loose in the civilian section. Containment teams to the common cafeteria, authorization code extinction level threat. Vexith transmitted, their vocal cords vibrating with urgency that transcended species barriers. All personnel evacuate immediately. This is not a drill. The Krell weren't just dangerous. They were the apex predators of the known galaxy, the species that had scorched 14 systems before the Treaty of Frozen Tears brought their expansion to a negotiated halt. Adult Krell could tear through battle-grade hull plating with their bare claws. Juveniles were worse. Unpredictable, uncontrollable, and driven purely by instinct. 3 Krell cubs loose on a diplomatic station meant one thing: everyone was about to die. Vexith sprinted through the corridor, their 6 legs carrying them faster than most species could process. The cafeteria doors were still open. Inside, the morning shift workers should have been fleeing. Instead, Vexith saw something that made their primary brain temporarily shut down in pure disbelief. 3 Krell cubs, each the size of a full-grown Taraxian warhound, covered in the distinctive midnight black scaling that marked them as high-caste predators, sat on a table in the center of the cafeteria. Their razor-sharp claws, capable of shredding reinforced titanium, rested mere centimeters from a human female who was calmly eating scrambled eggs. "Target acquired," came the voice of the security team leader through Vexith's communicator. "We have firing solution on all 3 hostiles, awaiting authorization to—" "Hold fire!" Vexith commanded, their voice cracking across 3 octaves. "The human—" "Sir, the human is already dead. Those readings show the cubs are in hunting posture. We need to eliminate them before they finish feeding and—" "The human is eating breakfast," Vexith hissed. Silence on the comm channel. Then, That's impossible, sir." The human, her identification badge read, Dena, Cafeteria Services, Morning Shift, picked up a piece of toast, took a bite, and then casually tore off a corner. One of the cubs made a low chirping sound. The human held out the toast piece. The cub took it gently from her fingers. "By the eternal dark," Vexith whispered. Every weapon system in the cafeteria had auto-targeted the cubs the moment they entered. Red targeting lasers painted all 3 juveniles from a dozen different angles. The environmental controls had automatically sealed the section. Containment foam dispensers were primed. Neural disruptors were charging, and the human was sharing her eggs. "Anyone want fries?" Dena called out, apparently addressing the cubs. "I've got extra. They always give me too many." One of the cubs, the largest, with distinctive scarring along its jaw ridge, responded with another chirp. Its tail, which should have been lashing in pre-attack agitation, curled contentedly around the table leg. Vexith's communicator exploded with transmissions. "Station Commander Yalth demands immediate status report. Krell Embassy is responding to the biosignatures. They're asking why their offspring are registering on station. Galactic Council emergency session convening. They want to know if we've contained the medical teams on standby for mass casualty event. Someone tell me why the human is still alive." Vexith forced their breathing to stabilize. Protocol. There had to be protocol for this. Their entire career had been built on protocol, on the careful frameworks that kept hundreds of species coexisting without killing each other. There was no protocol for this. "All teams hold position," Vexith transmitted. "Maintain targeting solutions but do not fire. I'm entering the cafeteria." "Sir, that's suicide." "I'm aware of the risk assessment." Vexith's legs carried them forward. "Station Commander, recommend you contact the Krell Embassy immediately. Inform them their juveniles are unharmed, and to send a delegation, quickly, through the doorway." 12 steps to the table. The cubs noticed Vexith immediately, their heads swiveled in perfect synchronization, eyes gleaming with that particular predator focus. That meant they were calculating threat levels and attack vectors. Then the human spoke. Hey Vexith, morning. Listen, I know you're busy with the whole emergency thing, but any chance the kitchen can send up more bacon? These guys are hungry. The cub's attention snapped back to the human. Their posture shifted from alert to waiting for her. Dena. Vexith kept their voice level, speaking slowly in galactic common. Do you understand what species those are? Dena looked at the cubs, then back at Vexith. Big cats. I mean, they've got the teeth and claws thing going on, though the scales are different, and the extra set of eyes is pretty metal. Those are Krell juveniles. Krell, Dena. The species that destroyed the Valanthi Collective. The species that requires 73 separate diplomatic protocols just to have a conversation with. The species that considers any threat to their offspring to be justification for planetary bombardment. Dena blinked. These little guys? Little. The largest cub was easily 200 kilograms of pure muscle and killing instinct. I mean, yeah, they're kinda big, but they're clearly babies. Dena scratched one of the cubs under its chin ridge. The cub's eyes half closed in apparent pleasure. A rumbling sound emerged from its chest. Every alarm in Vexith's body screamed. That sound, that was the precursor to Krell battle rage. The sound adult Krell made right before they ripped through enemy lines. The sound that had ended civilizations. Dena, step away from them. Very slowly. Don't make any sudden... Oh, they're purring! Dena's face lit up with delight. You like that, don't you, baby? The cub leaned into her touch, the rumbling intensifying. The other two cubs chirped and shifted closer to the human. Vexith's legs nearly gave out. That is not purring. That is a threat display. Pretty sure it's purring, Vex. I've had cats my whole life. I know a happy kitty when I see one. They are not cats. Vexith cut themselves off, switching to command channel. I need xenobiological specialists here immediately. Priority override on any current assignments, and someone get me behavioral data on Krell juveniles for the last 1,000 years. Sir, came a hesitant response. There is no behavioral data. Krell don't allow other species near their offspring. Ever. Anyone who's gotten close enough to observe juvenile Krell has died. Yes, I'm aware. Vexith watched as Dena offered another piece of toast to the scarred cub. Apparently, the Krell didn't inform the human of this policy. The middle cub, slightly smaller than the others, with more pronounced spinal ridges, nosed at Dena's bag. She laughed and pulled out a container. Okay, I've got juice boxes. But you have to be gentle with the straws, got it? They're not for chewing. She demonstrated with her own juice box, taking a sip. The cubs watched with intense focus. Then she opened one and held it out. The middle cub carefully took the straw between its teeth and drank. Gently, without crushing the container. Impossible, Vexith breathed. Good job, Dena patted the cub's head. See? Not so hard. The security team leader's voice crackled through Vexith's calm. Sir, the Krell embassy just confirmed their delegation is en route. ETA 47 minutes. They're demanding to know why their offspring are on station and why we haven't returned them immediately. Return them to where? Vexith asked. How did they get here in the first place? Station AI is reviewing security footage now. Sir, you need to see this. A holographic display materialized in front of Vexith. Footage from the past 3 weeks flickered past. The cubs, smaller in the earlier recordings, appearing in maintenance corridors, bypassing sensor nets, evading patrols, all headed in the same direction, to the cafeteria loading docks, where Dena took her smoke breaks. She's been feeding them, Vexith whispered. For 3 weeks, she's been feeding Krell cubs. And they kept coming back, the security chief added. Sir, these are the 3 offspring of High Commander Krieg. They're supposed to be in the Krell education facility on the embassy level. Maximum security. They've been sneaking out every morning. To see the human. To see the human. Dena was now showing the cubs something on her datapad, apparently playing a video. The cubs' heads tilted in unison, watching the screen with rapt attention. That's a compilation of cat videos from Earth, Dena explained to the cubs, completely ignoring Vexith. See? That's what I thought you were when you first showed up. Less scaly, but you've got the same energy. One of the cubs chirped. It sounded almost like laughter? I know, right? That one's my favorite too. Vexith's communicator exploded again. Station commander is requesting full situation brief. Galactic Council wants to know if we need evacuation protocols. Medical team asking if they should prep for Krell physiology or human. Someone explain to me why the predators aren't attacking. All teams silent, Vexith commanded. Then, more quietly, someone get me Thorn, the xenobiologist, the one who wrote the paper on Krell pack dynamics. Sir, he's been retired for... I don't care if he's been dead for a decade. Get him here, now. Vexith took 3 careful steps closer to the table. The cubs noticed but didn't react beyond tracking the movement. All 3 had positioned themselves in a loose triangle around Dena, a formation Vexith recognized from military briefings. A protective formation. Dena, Vexith said carefully, I need to ask you something very important. Have the cubs ever been aggressive toward you? Ever shown any signs of hostility? Hostile? These sweethearts? Dena laughed. No way. First time they showed up, the big one here, she gestured to the scarred cub, was limping. Had something stuck in his paw. Poor baby. You touched an injured Krell cub. Well, yeah. He was hurt. I couldn't just leave him like that. Dena shrugged. Took me 20 minutes to get the metal shard out, but once I did, he was fine. Gave him some of my sandwich, and he just curled up and fell asleep right there. The cafeteria's environmental sensors were going haywire. Vexith could see the readings on their heads-up display. The cubs' biosignatures were stable. More than stable. They were showing patterns consistent with contentment, relaxation, trust. Sir, came Thorn's voice over the comm, elderly and crackling with disbelief. I'm reviewing the footage you sent. I've spent 40 years studying Krell behavior. This shouldn't be possible. And yet, the cubs are displaying pack bonding behaviors with a human, a prey species. This violates everything we know about Krell psychology, evolutionary biology, and social structure. Explain to me what I'm seeing, Thorn. A pause. Then, you're seeing 3 Krell cubs who believe that human is their parent. The words hung in the air like a death sentence. That's impossible, Vexith said. Krell bond exclusively with their biological parents. The science is absolute. They don't even accept foster parents from their own species. I'm aware of the science, Thorn replied dryly. I wrote most of it, and I'm telling you, Protocol Officer, that every behavior those cubs are exhibiting, the protective positioning, the vocal communication patterns, the physical contact acceptance, the food sharing, those are juvenile behaviors reserved exclusively for recognized parental figures. But she's human. Yes. And somehow she triggered their pack bond response, which, according to every text ever written on Krell development, is biologically impossible. Dena was now braiding something. Was that part of her uniform? While the cubs watched with fascination. One of them tried to mimic the motion with its claws, creating a tangled mess. Dena laughed and gently untangled it, showing the cub again. 47 minutes until the Krell delegation arrives. Vexith said quietly, Thorn, what happens when adult Krell find a prey species in close contact with their offspring? The silence that followed was answer enough. Finally, Thorn spoke. Protocol Officer, you need to understand something. The Krell nearly went extinct once, millennia ago. Since then, their culture has built itself entirely around offspring protection. They don't just value their young. They define their entire civilization by them. If they perceive any threat to those cubs, station-wide extinction event. At minimum, possibly sector-wide, depending on how High Commander Krieg interprets the situation. Vexith watched as one of the cubs, the smallest, climbed fully onto Dena's lap. She adjusted automatically, supporting its weight like it was the most natural thing in the universe. The cub curled against her chest and closed its eyes. "We have 46 minutes," Vexith said, "to figure out how to tell one of the most dangerous military commanders in the galaxy that his children have adopted a human breakfast cook. And that we can't separate them," Thorn added grimly. "Look at the cub's hormone levels. If you try to pull them away from her now, their distress calls will be audible across 3 decks. High Commander Krieg will think we're torturing his offspring. So we're trapped. The cubs won't leave the human won't leave the cubs, and in 45 minutes their father arrives with enough firepower to crack this station open like an egg." Dena looked up from the sleeping cub in her lap. "Hey, Vexith, everything okay? You look stressed." "Stressed," Vexith repeated flatly. "Yes, one could say that. Want some toast? Always helps me when work gets crazy." The scarred cub chirped in agreement and pushed the plate of toast toward Vexith with one massive claw. 44 minutes until the Krell delegation arrived. The human was teaching apex predators to share. And somewhere in the universe, Vexith was certain every god of every species was laughing at them. "Station Commander Yalth wants visual confirmation," came the terse message through Vexith's communicator. "Absolutely not," Vexith replied. "The cubs are calm. Any additional presence might—" Too late. The cafeteria's far entrance hissed open. Station Commander Yalth strode in, all 4 arms gesturing in agitation, her crystalline carapace reflecting the emergency lighting in sharp, angry flashes. The cub's head snapped up in perfect unison. "Commander, stop moving," Vexith said quietly. Yalth froze. Her species, Quellen, had survived this long by recognizing predator behavior. The way those 3 juvenile heads tracked her, the way their muscles tensed, the way their claws extended slightly. Every instinct screamed danger. "Guys, it's okay," Dena said, her hand moving to stroke the scarred cub's head. "She's cool. Probably just wants to make sure everyone's safe." The cubs didn't relax, but they didn't attack either. Their attention remained fixed on Yalth, calculating. "Commander," Vexith said carefully, "this is Dena. Dena, this is Station Commander Yalth." "Hey," Dena waved. "Sorry about the mess. Didn't know the kids weren't supposed to be here." "The kids," Yalth repeated, her translator struggling with the casual term. "Those are Krell cubs, high caste, military lineage. Do you understand?" "Yeah, Vex already gave me the whole super dangerous, everyone's gonna die speech." Dena shrugged. "But look at them. They're just scared babies who wanted breakfast." "Scared?" Yalth's voice rose an octave. "They've bypassed security systems designed to contain Class 5 threats. They've evaded military-grade sensors for 3 weeks. Nothing about them reads as scared." "Well, sure, not now." Dena scratched behind the middle cub's ear ridges. It leaned into her touch, rumbling. "But that first morning, big guy here was limping and trying really hard not to show it. The little one," she nodded to the cub in her lap, "kept looking around like something was hunting her, and this sweetie," she touched the middle cub's snout, "was so hungry her stomach was making these awful sounds." "You're describing apex predators as if they were abandoned pets," Yalth said. "Maybe they were a little bit abandoned. I mean, they kept coming back. Every morning, same time. That's not hunting behavior, Commander. That's lonely kids wanting attention." Vexith's communicator chimed. Thorn's voice, urgent. "I'm reviewing their embassy records. The cubs were recently transferred to a new education facility. More rigorous, less parental contact, standard practice for high-caste Krell at this development stage, but these 3 decided they wanted something different." Vexith finished. "They wanted her," Thorn said. "Somehow, this human provided something their training protocol didn't, and Krell cubs imprint hard. Once the bond forms, it's permanent," Yalth finished grimly. "Which means we have 38 minutes to explain to High Commander Krieg that his offspring have permanently bonded with a prey species breakfast cook, and there's nothing anyone can do about it." The smallest cub chirped from Dena's lap. She looked down. "What's wrong, baby?" The cub made a different sound, almost like a questioning trill. "Oh, You need the bathroom? Dena looked up at Vexith. Where's the nearest? You can understand them? Yalth's voice cracked. Well, not like word for word, but yeah, pretty much. It's not that different from regular cats, honestly. They've got their I'm hungry sound, their I'm bored sound, their pick me up sound. The cub trilled again, more insistently. Okay, we're going. Dena stood carefully, supporting the cub. The other two immediately flanked her. Be right back. Don't let anyone eat my eggs. She walked toward the bathrooms, 3 Krell cubs forming a protective escort around her. Yalth and Vexith stood in silence. We're all going to die, Yalth said finally. Probably, Vexith agreed. She just walked away, with the cubs, to use the bathroom. Yes, and they followed her, like she's their mother, Vexith finished. Yes, 36 minutes until High Commander Krieg arrived. And Vexith still had no idea how to explain this. Thorn arrived 17 minutes later, wheezing from the sprint despite his advanced age. The elderly Vatharian clutched his data slate like a lifeline, his 4 optical sensors flickering rapidly as they processed the scene before him. Dena had returned from the bathroom. Now she sat cross-legged on the floor, the 3 cubs sprawled around her in a loose circle. She was showing them pictures on her datapad. That's my nephew, Dena explained, scrolling through images. He's about your age, I think. Well, human age. He likes dinosaurs and, oh, you'd probably like this one. The scarred cub leaned closer, studying the image intently. It chirped. Right? That's what I said. Why would anyone want a stuffed animal when you could have a robot? Thorn's optical sensors focused on Vexith. I need to scan them. All of them, the human included. Will it disturb them? Vexith asked. It's passive bioscanning. They won't even notice. Thorn activated his equipment, hands trembling slightly. By the eternal archives, this is unprecedented. Absolutely unprecedented. Numbers and graphs materialized in holographic displays around Thorn. His translator made a strangled sound. What is it? Yalth demanded. The cub's pheromone signatures. Thorn manipulated the data, his movements becoming more frantic. They're producing guardian recognition markers, the same chemical signals they'd emit around their biological parents, but they're directed at the human, Vexith finished. It's more than that. Thorn zoomed in on a particular readout. The human's scent profile. She's producing oxytocin, prolactin. Her endocrine system is responding as if she's actually bonding with offspring. Her biology thinks those are her children. That's insane, Yalth said. Humans don't bond with other species that way. Incorrect. Thorn pulled up files with shaking hands. Humans have documented history of pack bonding with virtually anything. Earth dogs, earth cats, even earth reptiles and birds. There are records of humans forming emotional attachments to robotic vacuum cleaners. Their capacity for cross-species bonding is extraordinary. But Krell cubs only bond with Krell parents, Vexith protested. That's what every text says, yes. Thorn's voice had taken on a manic edge. But look at the chemical markers. Look at the behavioral patterns. Those cubs have recognized her as pack, as parent, and her biology accepted them. One of the cubs, the middle one, had rolled onto its back. Dena was rubbing its belly, careful to avoid the sensitive scale patterns. The cub's claws were fully retracted, its eyes half closed in contentment. That's a complete trust position, Thorn whispered. Adult Krell don't even do that with each other. It's reserved exclusively for parent-offspring bonding during early development. 20 minutes until High Commander Krieg arrives, Yalth said. Tell me we have options. Thorn finally looked up from his data. His optical sensors had stopped flickering. We have exactly one option. We tell High Commander Krieg the truth, and we hope he doesn't vaporize the station. That's not an option, Vexith said. It's the only option. Thorn gestured at Dena and the cubs. We cannot separate them. Attempting to do so would cause severe psychological trauma to the cubs. They would fight, they would cry out, and when their father hears that, he'll think we're torturing them. Yalth finished. Worse, He'll think we're trying to sever their pack bond. In Krell culture, that's the equivalent of murdering someone's soul. Dena looked up from the cubs. You guys are still freaking out, huh? Look, when the parents get here, I'll just explain. I'm good with parents. I've dealt with plenty of upset moms and dads picking up their kids from places they're not supposed to be. This is different, Vexith said carefully. How different can it be? I'll apologize, promise to stop feeding them without permission, and that'll be that. The three officials exchanged glances. Dena, Thorn said gently, in Krell culture, what you've done is create a permanent familial bond. You're not just the nice lady who feeds them. In their eyes, in their biology, in their culture, you're their parent now. Dena blinked. I'm their what? 18 minutes. I'm sorry, run that by me again? Dena's voice had gone very quiet. You've pack bonded with them, Thorn explained, his translator carefully enunciating each word. It's permanent, irreversible. By Krell law and biology, you are now recognized as a parental figure to High Commander Krieg's offspring. I gave them toast, Dena said slowly, and some eggs, maybe a few sandwiches over the past few weeks. And removed debris from an injury, Thorn added. Provided comfort when they were in a stressful environment. Created a safe space they returned to repeatedly. Responded to their emotional needs. That's not feeding, Dena. That's parenting. The smallest cub, sensing Dena's tension, nuzzled against her hand. She automatically stroked its head, the gesture so natural she didn't even seem to notice she was doing it. But I'm human, Dena said. They're not. Species is irrelevant to pack bonding, Thorn said. What matters is the bond itself, and theirs is absolute. Vexith's communicator chimed. Krell delegation has docked. High Commander Krieg is proceeding to the cafeteria. ETA 12 minutes. Fantastic, Yalth muttered. How do we present this? Carefully, Thorn said. Very, very carefully. What if I just hide? Dena suggested. Like, maybe if the cubs go back to their dad, everything goes back to normal. As if understanding the suggestion, all three cubs pressed closer to Dena. The scarred one positioned itself between her and the door, its posture shifting subtly into something more alert, more protective. They won't leave you, Thorn said. And if you tried to leave them, the middle cub made a low sound. Not quite a growl, but close. Its eyes had locked onto the exit. They'd follow, Dena finished. Okay, got it. So, what do I say to their dad? The truth, Vexith said. But frame it correctly. You didn't steal his offspring. You didn't manipulate them. They came to you, repeatedly, of their own will. And you responded with care, Thorn added, which, in Krell culture, is the highest honor. You didn't reject them. You didn't turn them away. You accepted them. I just fed them breakfast, Dena said weakly. You did more than that. Thorn pulled up the security footage again. Look, 3 weeks ago, first encounter. The scarred one approaches you. You don't run, you don't call security. You sit down, you make yourself smaller, less threatening. The footage showed Dena kneeling, examining the cub's injured paw with gentle hands. You treated a wounded predator with compassion, then you fed it. Then you let it sleep near you. Every day after, you repeated these actions. You established routine, safety, trust. That's just being decent, Dena protested. To humans, perhaps. To Krell cubs separated from their parents for the first time, undergoing rigorous training in an unfamiliar environment. Thorn's voice softened. You became their anchor, their safe place, their home. The smallest cub had fallen asleep in Dinah's lap, its breathing deep and even. The other two watched the doorway with vigilant attention. 8 minutes, Vexith reported. What happens if their dad doesn't accept this? Dena asked. The silence stretched too long. Dena, Yalth said finally. High Commander Krieg has led campaigns that reshaped sectors. He's responsible for the Treaty of Frozen Tears, which ended the border wars. He's one of the most decorated military commanders in Krell history. Okay, so he's important. Got it. And you are now pack-bonded to his children. In Krell culture, that means your family. Whether he accepts that or destroys everything in rage. Thorn finished quietly. There is no middle ground with Krell, especially where offspring are concerned. Right. Dena took a deep breath. So, no pressure. The cafeteria doors opened. High Commander Krieg had arrived. High Commander Krieg stood motionless, his massive frame filling the doorway. His scales were deep crimson. Combat colors. Every weapon system in the cafeteria tracked him automatically. Then his eyes found the cubs. The scarred one chirped, a sound of pure joy, and bounded toward him. The other two followed, but stopped halfway, looking back at Dena with uncertainty. Krieg knelt. His claws, each one capable of tearing through steel, gently touched his offspring's faces. Then his gaze shifted to Dena. You, his voice rumbled through the translator, protected them. I just fed them, Dena said quietly. You accepted them when they were alone, frightened, adjusting to new protocols. Krieg's head tilted. They chose you. You chose them. He straightened, moving toward Dena with deliberate steps. Every official in the room tensed. Krieg stopped 3 feet away. Then slowly, carefully, he placed one massive claw over his chest, a gesture Thorn recognized immediately as profound respect. You are Pack, Krieg said simply. My offspring have claimed you. I honor their choice. The smallest cub climbed back into Dena's lap. So, Dena said carefully, same time tomorrow for breakfast? Krieg's translator made a sound that might have been laughter. Same time tomorrow.